Once, he was a man, a soldier of the Imperium, a name lost among billions until Nurgle found him. Because the plague god does not ask politely. He rots, he corrodes, he gifts. What begins as a cough becomes devotion. What starts as decay becomes worship. Now his body is a cathedral of rot, his armor swollen with disease and laughter. The name of Folgoth Grelch is no longer spoken by comrades, only whispered by the dying. This is his story, and tonight, on our Halloween arc of brush and blood, we paint his twisted, rotting form.
Welcome back to Brush and Blood, where Warhammer meets the real world. Today I'm painting Folgoth Grelch, one of Nurgle's foulest champions. As we layer his rusted armor, pus-dripping relics, and plague-swollen flesh, we'll explore his fall, his legend, and why Grelch is more than just another servant of the plague god. Now, let's get started.
Let's get it on!
Who was Folgoth before Nurgle? Before he was a monster, Folgoth Grelch was a loyal Imperial guardsman, a line officer on the hive world of Morbus Prime, known for his discipline, his sharp eye, and his devotion to keeping his men alive in the grinding wars of attrition. But it was attrition that broke him. When plague swept the trenches, the Medicae supplies ran out. His soldiers rotted in their foxholes, while Imperial commanders told him to hold the line. Folgoth prayed to the Emperor, but no cure came. He prayed to silence, until whispers in the rot answered him. Nurgle promised salvation, not through healing, but through transformation. Folgoth embraced it. His men rose again, but not as guardsmen, as poxwalkers. His unit lived on in laughter, in plague, in endless rot. From officer to warlord of disease, Folgoth's name became one with pestilence itself. Fun facts and lore. Folgoth is said to carry the voices of his old regiment, their laughter bubbles, through his gurgling speech. His relic blade, the Rotfang Cleaver, was once a guardsman's saber, now swollen and pitted with rust and filth. Wherever Folgoth treads, crops wither, wells turn black, and even machines corrode into sludge. Tabletop tie-in. Characters like Folgoth show why Death Guard leaders are so terrifying. They don't just kill the enemy, they infect the fight itself. His corrupted aura grants his followers lethal hits, turning every swing into a contagion, and even twisting fate so that critical hits strike on a 5+ instead of a 6. Under his command, disease becomes precision, every blow a blessing from the plague god. Lore vignette. The Siege of Valor Spire. Picture this, the Siege of Valor Spire. Imperial defenders brace behind cathedral walls as Folgoth's horde of poxwalkers slams into them. At first, Lasfire and bolters tear through the undead. But Grelch laughs a wet, bubbling cackle that echoes across the field. He raises his cleaver, and with every swing, plague bile sprays like a fountain. Guardsmen scream as flesh slews from their bones, their weapons clattering to the ground as they rise again, joining his ranks. In one night, an entire regiment becomes his army. His plague doesn't just kill, it recruits. A squad fights hard, holds their ground, but the longer Folgoth lingers, the more his rot spreads. That's the Death Guard way, inevitability. Not a battle won in seconds, but a war of hours, where the living tire and the dead do not. The Harvest of Dresna Fields. They called it the Harvest War, a campaign fought on the agri-world of Dresna, where wheat once grew taller than a man. When the Death Guard came, they did not bomb the cities or storm the fortresses. They simply stood at the edges of the fields and waited. Folgoth Grelch led them, his swollen frame towering above the plague fog. As the wind shifted, spores drifted across the golden crops, and within hours, the first farmers began to cough. By nightfall, entire regiments were fevered and laughing through their pain. When the guards sent decay units to investigate, they found the fields alive. The wheat had blackened, bending under its own weight. Each stalk split open, releasing clouds of flies. The ground pulsed like diseased flesh. And in the distance, Folgoth's laughter rolled like thunder, echoing over the hills. By dawn, the Imperial Vox relays fell silent. The survivors swore the land itself had turned against them, the soil slick with pus, the rivers running green. When the plague fleet departed weeks later, nothing remained but a sea of fungal growth and the bones of harvesters frozen mid-laughter. The once bountiful world of Dresna had been reborn not as farmland, but as a garden fit only for the plague god. Real-world parallels grimdark echoes of plague. History is full of men like Folgoth soldiers who broke under the weight of plague and famine, commanders who bargained their souls to save their men even if damnation followed. Think of the Black Death. Entire cities emptied overnight. Priests abandoned their posts. Soldiers deserted their banners. What would you do if you could stop it, even if the cure was corruption? Grimdark story. On Plague Worlds, survivors whisper of Folgoth's march. A sound that begins with coughing, then laughter, then silence. When the laughter grows too loud, they say Folgoth is near, and when he passes, villages are left without a single living soul. Only shambling husks remain, chuckling in the fog. He is not just a killer. He is contagion given legs, despair given a smile. Pop culture parallels. You can see Folgoth's shadow in so many stories, echoes of his decay hiding behind the masks of monsters we already know. The Walking Dead's Negan, a leader who thrives by breaking others and recruiting them into his way of life. Where Negan wields fear and charm, Folgoth wields plague and faith. He doesn't need to convince people to follow him, he infects them, body and soul, until laughter replaces screams. The Cursed King archetype, a once noble man undone by corruption. Like King Theoden under Saruman's spell, or Macbeth haunted by ambition, Folgoth began as a loyal soldier of the Imperium. But devotion became disease. Duty became rot. He's the tragedy of a man who prayed for strength and received corruption instead. Even the Joker laughter as a weapon, madness spread like a virus. But Folgoth's laughter isn't manic, it's ancient. It carries the weight of decay itself. His jokes curdle the air, his mirth smells of death. The Joker spreads chaos. Folgoth spreads inevitability. Folgoth isn't just another Death Guard champion, he's the grinning prophet of entropy, turning war into a sick parody of life. Every step he takes is a sermon, every corpse a convert. His battlefield isn't conquered, it's celebrated in rot and ruin. He is what happens when faith festers, when devotion outlives sanity. And here he is, Folgoth Grelch. Once a loyal soldier, now a warlord of rot. Proof that sometimes damnation doesn't come with screams, but with laughter. This has been part of our Halloween arc here on Brush and Blood, where the minis drip, ooze, and rot just a little more than usual. Next time, we'll stay with the Death Guard and paint their Plague Marines armored champions of disease, resilience, and decay. Disclaimer. This episode is for entertainment purposes only. Lore or history details may not be exact. This is about fun storytelling and painting minis, not perfect accuracy. Did you know? The Death Guard's Plague Marines are so resilient that their organs often continue working long after they should have rotted away. Some are said to keep multiple redundant stomachs and lungs, each brewing a different disease. Tell me in the comments, if you had to face Nurgle's forces, would you rather fight a champion like Folgoth Grelch Or drown in the endless tide of his poxwalkers?
Not too bad.